Amy, you and I have been talking a lot about doing these podcasts, but we wanted to do one-on-one so we could discuss frankly and openly for our listeners, what is the REMS? What is the Real Estate Mediation Specialist program we have? And I'm super excited that you are our lead coach for our Real Estate Mediation Specialist certification program. You've been doing a great job. I'm so thankful to have you doing that. And I think you'll agree that by being in that position of coach, even though you've gone through the program yourself, even your knowledge just continues to be elevated and how it applies to you and your business as a CDLP and me as, the president and founder of the DLA. We utilize these skills. So before we kind of get into that, just give our listeners a brief overview, if you will, of our Real Estate Mediation Specialist program at the Divorce Lending Association.
Well, first and foremost, let me say this. It is not the same program. It has evolved into something great. I have learned more this time around, truly coaching and being involved. It's completely, just like you said, completely changed everything. The way I talk, the way I work with people. And I hope that that's what those who are interested in should I or shouldn't I do this really get from this. The Real Estate Mediation Specialist certification is the next level. If you want to support divorcing homeowners or the divorce community, whether it's the attorneys, whether it's the outside sources, even the coaches, and they are the ones hearing, oh my gosh, what's going to have to happen with the house? Or maybe you're already working with a CDLP, Certified Divorce Lending Professional, and you really just need to know, what do I do? How do I take it to the next level? They're talking about going to litigation, or they're talking about going to mediation, and I might get called in, and all of a sudden you got the deer with headlights look, right? Oh my gosh, I'm going to mediation. What am I going to do? This is the class for you. And that's truly what I have found.
What is the REMS for people who don't know? Maybe they've never heard about it before.
It's a whole set of modules that self-paced, by the way, and assignments. So I don't want to just say, oh yeah, you're taking a couple tests. No, you're doing tests and assignments all the way through, and you end with an actual mediation training session. So it's a whole bit of education, hands-on, teaching you really the different mediation techniques applied in divorce, as well as how you as a professional, depending on which perspective you're coming from, whether it's a CDLP perspective or an allied professional perspective, i.e. realtors, depending on your perspective, how you can apply yourself in a mediation situation. And so for some, what was that?
I think one of the most common questions I see is, I don't want to be a mediator.
Right. And that's what I say. Are you kidding? That's what I said the minute I walked out the door. When I did my final, I was just horrified. I was so nervous and knew from that day forward that I did not want to be a mediator. And most people say, no, that I really like what I do. This education will take you to the next level. You'll feel so much more confident. You'll be able to have those conversations with the divorce professionals that are reeling you in to mediation or even litigation. You'll be prepared. You'll know the terminology. You'll understand why certain techniques are applied or not, and where you fit in. One of the biggest things that I walked away from my original training, and we continually apply this in this training, is you're not the mediator. Yeah. You're just here as part of the mediation. You're a professional that they need as part of the mediation. Don't take over somebody's mediation. You're asked to come support and stay in your lane. And that's the thing, is you will have so much more confidence. If you're a realtor, hands down, you will understand how to negotiate so much better. You'll walk into just even a traditional transaction especially if it's a high conflict seller or buyers involved, you'll be able to handle that no problem. If you're a CDLP, your menu of services completely changes. Your ability to consult in a transaction versus just do a loan, just structure that equity buyout, it changes once you have the certification.
Yeah, so obviously I'm a certified mediator. That's why I even wrote this program. I wrote it because I recognized in my CDLP practice and being the president of the Divorce Landing Association, how we use mediation in every single thing we do every day. And
Right?
it's not just business. It's like, hey, honey, where do you want to go for dinner? Oh, I was thinking about Chili's. I don't want to go to Chili's. Okay, well, where do you want to go? That's negotiation 101. And the reason I wrote the curriculum in the first place was to teach those critical mediation strategies, understanding what the process is, how you as a mortgage or real estate professional can support the mediation process, not be counterproductive to it. And it does meet the standard 40-hour basic mediation skills training for anyone who then does want to go into mediation. But that wasn't what we wrote and built this program to be. It was to be another layer of professional education that enhances our CDLPs and qualified real estate professionals to be in a better, more educated and knowledgeable position to support the mediation or support the spouses going through mediation without mediating, and like I said, not being counterproductive. I've seen so many times a mortgage professional go into mediation not knowing what the heck they're doing.
Yes.
Where if you understand how the mediation process works and you can then present the options in a much more neutral point of view, you can read the room, you can then start to say, okay, well, what will work? Are you open to discussing options? Here's some other
Right.
options that we can work on to make this work. And it's about listening. It's about delivering the options and the strategies without being threatening. And that was the whole basis behind our program. And you review everybody's assignments.
Right.
Do you see a change in their answers and their assignments? Because it's writing up reports, it's writing sample MOUs, whatever. How do you see that student transition as they continue through the program?
It's amazing because you can see just through the words that they're using the transformation. Well, first I would use transformative approach, and then they try to explain why, and it's a two-liner. By the time they're done, they've got the whole shebang. They know exactly where they're going, and their answers are so much longer. Sometimes they don't even type right there. They completely type up a Word document and upload it because they have so much information.
Yeah.
Those who spend the extra time to really understand, it completely changes their language. But I want to jump back to a couple points that you made. We use this in life.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do things on Zoom, right? World revolves around Zoom. And everybody who's gone through this, here's my story. When you made me set up the tables, I was sweating because we
Well, you need to explain that to people. Maybe we were setting up tables for dinner or something. Right. Explain to them what this was, because back when Amy went through our initial REMS training, it was live, it was in person. It was very intense.
Yes. And when you are in a mediation, you could potentially be in a situation where you're, like in the movies, sitting across the table, facing your ex or facing whomever you have a conflict with. Well, as a mediator, I need to understand the room and I need to understand the individuals that I'm mediating. So, should I put them in a half circle style or should I put them face to face at the table? And where do I sit specifically? But if you think about it, think about when you have two kids brother and sister or two cousins, and they're at a family party and everybody's having fun until someone gets hurt. And what do? You sit them down. And what do? As a parent, you talk it through, work through it. They're mediating, and you're the mediator. You're going through the whole process. It's completely different. And how you apply yourself or what approach you take, whether or not you put little Johnny at the other end of the table or right smack dab across, it's because you've read the room and you know who you're dealing with. That's the basis of mediation, right? Getting to know them. Then you also talked about qualified individuals, and you talked about mortgage and real estate professionals. I originally thought, that's right, CDLPs and real estate professionals. And then I realized where divorce coaches fit in. When they're sitting in a session with whoever they're working with, or sometimes both, that's mediation. And then let's add on the parenting coaches in a parenting session. Again, that's mediation. And to know the skills that we teach, it could completely change your practice. So as you were saying that, I'm going, this isn't just our qualified individuals. So share a little bit more. I want everybody to hear what your definition of a qualified individual is, so that way they know who's best suited for this program.
So our program at the moment is designed specifically for our certified divorce lending professionals. Number one, they go through, you can attest to this, a very rigorous training to become a certified divorce lending professional. It is not mortgage underwriting guidelines. It is family law, financial and tax planning, real estate law, mortgage planning, so much more. And I always liken to say that if you think divorce mortgage planning is just doing a loan, that's like saying financial planning is opening a bank account. And so if you are a mortgage professional and you want to get your REMS certification, you have to be a CDLP. And the reason behind that is it takes that advanced knowledge of family law, the tax aspect, everything that CDLPs are taught to adequately utilize the knowledge and training within the REMS training to just continue to embolden and elevate your involvement in collaborative law or mediation. And you'll find too that, yeah, if you're involved in a litigated case, you're still using a lot of these negotiation tactics, or more importantly, sometimes you're recognizing the tactics that the attorneys or the mediators are using, and you can, okay, I recognize what's going on, and then you shift your approach to mirror there. Okay. To be a real estate professional and able to take our REMS course, you have to be a qualified agent. It just can't be somebody who's having, in a down market, where their business is hard right now in real estate and mortgage. So don't think that this will be your shiny new object, because you have to understand, yeah, you can learn all of these mediation tactics, etc. But if you don't have that background knowledge of divorce, you're not going to be helpful at the settlement table. And so in order to be a qualified real estate agent, you have to meet two metrics. You have to be an allied professional with the Divorce Lending Association. And you have to either be a CDRE, which is a certified divorce real estate expert. They go through training very similar to the CDLP, but on the real estate side through the Alumni Institute. Or if you're not a CDRE, you have to be, at a minimum, you have to complete our divorce real estate workshop, partnering with family law professionals that we offer at the DLA. And you have to be sponsored by a CDLP, because we know there's a lot of different entry points to getting in to the divorce market, but we want to make sure that those real estate professionals understand that it's not just going under contract or getting a listing and doing the same process as you would any traditional real estate deal or transaction. You have to understand the legalities behind it, the emotions behind it, etc., in order to really support the divorcing couple going through that situation.
I never, ever will forget. It's funny that you're bringing this up. I went and had lunch with an agent and her assistant. And I was explaining what a CDLP does. And her assistant turned, she goes, I still don't understand. Why wouldn't we want to just go straight to sale? They were in it as agents 100% just to get the sale.
Mm-hmm.
It had nothing to do with the bigger plan. It had nothing to do with the fact that maybe there was a nesting home right now, and maybe there could be 2 transactions later on, or maybe helping the out spouse. She didn't get it at all. And I thought, thank you very much. This was why we had lunch, because it's a weeding out process and we won't be working together.
It's the same thing though on the mortgage side. So many mortgage professionals contact us and say, well, I don't really need this to do a mortgage loan. It's like, you are correct. You do not need to be a certified divorce lending professional to do a loan for a divorced client. Not the point. We are involved early in the process. We are the ones strategizing and coming up with the solutions for the legal team and the client, so that when the divorce is final, yes, you are in a position now to obtain mortgage financing, whether it's a qualified assumption, whether it's purchasing a new home, whether it's refinancing the marital home. But if certain things are not taken care of, addressed, the language fixed, etc., everyone loses in the end.
How awesome is it? Well, for me, it's extremely gratifying when I get an email from one of the mediators that I work with, and she says, read this before we sign it. And can you give me some language for this particular area? How gratifying is it as a mortgage professional, right? That, I mean, if you wanted to take the CDLP label off of my name and just said, Amy Valdivia, the mortgage professional, I actually helped that divorce because I gave them language to allow them to execute appropriately. That when they walk away, they know exactly what's going to happen with their home.
Yeah.
And for someone who's a professional, their mediator, who happens to be an attorney, when she sends me these documents and says, read it before we sign it, is this okay? I mean, it really makes me feel really good. Like, okay, I finally am doing some good quality work, because we can all close home loans. We've been doing it for years. That's just another deal. But when you're amazing.
And it takes a certain level of confidence to do that. And I probably help more professionals and the clients themselves structure the language in the settlement agreement. Obviously, I don't actively originate anymore. I still have an active license, but I do still provide divorce mortgage planning services. And I have found a lot of what the attorneys come to me for specifically, even though they don't know me, is the language. I've recently helped a client in Colorado where one spouse wanted to retain the home and refinance it, but she also wanted to assume it because they don't want to lose that awesome rate, but she was newly self-employed. So it was going to take 2 years before she would even qualify for a qualified assumption. And being able to structure the language that, number one, assigned her the house, assigned her the legal responsibility for making the mortgage payment so that it was a court-ordered assignment of debt for the other spouse to go purchase, but yet still preparing that window, if you will, of opportunity for her to have 2 years to be able to provide her tax returns so that she could apply for the assumption, and then writing in there the language around the assumption that it's not guaranteed, et cetera, et cetera. And then just the other day, I helped this, I was working with the wife. Her husband was retaining the home and they had agreed to sell it, except for then they have 2 or 3, I can't remember, young boys, teenagers, so they're only going to be in the house for another 3 years before they go off to college. She wanted to then open a window because they had already agreed to sell it, but I want to give him an option to keep the house for 3 years and then pay me my equity at that when we sell the house. Can you help me with that language? And so I provided them guidelines because we do not give legal advice. We don't say this is the language. It's like, this is standardized templates that we recommend your attorney, customize to your situation, whatever. So they sent it back to me over the weekend to review. And I noticed that when they assigned the husband the mortgage payment, it said the principal, interest, and insurance and maintenance. They totally left out taxes, and so it's those kind of little things can still be an impact.
Right.
But it's more of it's a very gratifying feeling, right? And so back to the REMS, where do you get that confidence to speak to them? You're not mediating, but you're listening, because we talk a lot about listening skills. There's different types of them. How do you actively listen to what they need and then be able to really identify what the solution is they're looking for? And then us be, crossing the many, professional lanes that we're in. How do we stay in our lane, but yet at the same time provide suggested language to incorporate? And I think the REMS does all of that. It gives you the confidence, the training, the approach, just the entire understanding to elevate your divorce, mortgage, and divorce real estate practices.
I think you hit the nail on the head on why you need to be a qualified individual, not just anybody just saying, oh, I think I want to go help some divorced people. As a CDLP, we have divorce mortgage planning report. That's our framework. As a CDRE, you already know you have your own framework of what you're looking for. So as you're going through this process, the REMS, you begin to sew them together. Oh, that's what this means, because now you can say, I am ready for mediation. Call me in. Or I'm preparing you for mediation. Or better yet, I'm preparing you for litigation. Because how many judges say, oh, you want to keep the house? How do you know you can?
Yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've been consulted by this particular person, and this particular person, the CDRE or the CDLP, has the appropriate language in the documentation that they've supplied to the court.
Yeah. So what's some of the feedback you've gotten from our REMS graduates?
Well, a couple things. Really, I'm a mediator now because they shift. First, they say, I absolutely don't want to. And then all of a sudden they think, well, maybe I can do a little bit of mediation. And so there have been some that have actually started their mediation business. My exciting news is for one particular student that I happen to get the opportunity to work with. He has his own consulting business. And the mediator / attorney that happened to write up this particular divorce wrote in some specific language stating, at a later date, by XYZ date, you two will have agreed upon a buyout amount for the husband, who's the out spouse. The wife wanted to keep the house. Actually, though, created some language saying whoever's first, saying, I want to buy out. She specifically wrote, reach out to a qualified individual. And who is that qualified individual? An REMS. This REMS came in, certified student. He came in and he mediated just that little portion himself. Completely wrote up an addendum to the MOU. The divorce is final. We're attaching that to the divorce papers, and that's how we're going to execute for the equity buyout. What a beautiful thing. So the feedback has truly been, I speak different. I have a different way of doing things, and I know I can offer more. So they have all of this knowledge and they want to apply it.
Yeah, it is just like the CDLP. The REMS is something you haven't learned before.
Yes.
So it can seem overwhelming to them at the end. It's like, my gosh, I went through all of this training. What do I do with it?
Yeah.
And we have started masterminds for our REMSs, to help coach them in certain situations, just like our REMS graduate that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And you have to take your knowledge and use it. Information is great, but if you don't know how to use it or you're afraid to implement it, and many of them are implementing it, they don't even realize they're doing it.
Right.
Just like our REMS in Colorado, she said, after going through this, there's no way I want to be a mediator. But then she immediately told me, a couple days later, oh my gosh, I was working with a husband and wife. It was very conflicted. And I heard myself using the techniques and how we were taught to speak and handle those situations. And by the end of the call, both spouses were again on the same page, and we moved forward, through the loan process. So it's one of those subtle learning things, that even if you put up a hard no, mediation is not for me. That's fine. We didn't design it for you to be a mediator. We designed it for you to be more supportive in that process. You will start using those techniques.
It's an amazing program. I hope everyone who's just sitting on the fence going, should I, or do I really need it? Take the time. You'll be very pleased. I promise you'll be pleased. When you're in mediation, some of the students have said, oh my gosh, I need to go study. But not one has said, I didn't learn. Every single student has said, I learned. And if they weren't feeling confident in mediation, they knew where to go to get the information so they could be prepared.
So where does anybody who wants to learn more about the REMS certification go?
Well, you're going to go straight to the DLA website and right under Get Certified. So it's divorcelendingassociation.com. And then you're going to go click on Get Certified and you'll see the REMS right there. And it's going to take you through all the information and you can click Get Certified, Get Started. I think it actually says Get Started. Click to register today, excuse me. That's all you're going to do and then take it from there.
There you go. And if they have any questions at all, they can reach out to us on our website and Amy will be the one to call you back and answer all of your questions, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's okay. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Well, Amy, thanks again for jumping on this. I look forward. Next time we're going to talk about the Allied Professional Membership with the Divorce Lending Association. And that's a big one for us right now.
Absolutely. Excited to do that. And thank you so very much. Let's get the word out. Let's help some divorcing homeowners, shall we?
Absolutely. Thanks, Amy.
Have a great day.